This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
أهلا بكم إلى الرابعة. حذر وزير الخارجية اليمني أبو بكر القربي إيران من الانعكاسات السلبية في العلاقات اليمنية الإيرانية.
The Yemeni Prime Minister Abu Bakr al-Kirbi warned Tehran against the Iranian-biased media reports in favor of the Houthi rebels in Sada, saying that this will have a negative impact on Yemeni-Iranian relations. Al-Kirbi accused the Iranian media of spreading rumors and lies about Yemen. In an interview with the state-run Al-Mithaq newspaper, al-Kirbi said that his government warned Tehran that the media rhetoric doesn't serve their bilateral interests. According to independent sources, Yemen will likely sever its relations with Tehran in the coming week. Yemen also summoned the Iranian ambassador to Sana'a over the issue. Meanwhile, the Yemeni Defense Ministry announced that its air force has launched, quote, painful military strikes against Houthis' stronghold in Sada. The ministry also dismissed earlier reports that the Houthis have seized control of the Tarfan military base and the Asna mountain.
تصريحات للحوثيين عن سيطرتهم على موقع طنفان العسكري وجبل الأصمع.
Several people were killed and several others were wounded in the ongoing fighting between the Yemeni army and the Houthis. Today, the Yemeni Air Force continued to pound Houthi positions in the area of Tayyan, Naqqa, Sakwain, and Hijrat Qatatar in the province of Saad. The Yemeni Ministry of Defense announced that its army and security forces are using a new military strategy to counter Houthis' guerrilla warfare tactics. The Yemeni forces have successfully inflicted casualty losses among rebel fighters in the areas of Mafrek, Swayth, and Mujama Shad, where dozens of Houthi fighters have surrendered to the Yemeni army. In another development, a Yemeni military source denied reports that the Houthis have seized control of the Tarfan military base and Asna mountain. A government statement attributed to a military source saying that Ahmad Jaran, a bomb expert, had been killed in the area of Beni Mad in the province of Saad. The statement confirmed that nearly 300 tons of aid, including food and blankets, have been dispatched to the area of fighting, where relief workers are having difficulty reaching the refugee camps. The U.S. renewed its call on both sides of the conflict to help guarantee the safety of the local and international relief workers in the region. The U.S. has contributed $2.5 million as part of the Food for Peace program. Ali Al-Kaseli, Al-Arabiya.
في المقابل وزع المتمردون الحوثيون صورا لعتاد عسكري.
Meanwhile, Houthi rebels have circulated images of military equipment, which they have allegedly seized as war booty in the battles between the government forces and the rebels in the area of Sada and Imran. However, the images have not been confirmed by other sources.
فيما لم يتسنى التأكد من تاريخ هذه الصور من مصادر أخرى.
The Sudanese Red Crescent organization said that the number of family homes that have been damaged in the rain and floods that engulfed Khartoum province has reached more than 20,000.
The organization warned that a health and environmental catastrophe may happen if the situation does not get under control soon. 15 people have been killed in the floods.
Our correspondent in Khartoum, Tahir Al-Mardi, reports about this natural disaster.
In this area of Khartoum province, rains have made it impossible for the residents to stay in their homes that have been damaged or destroyed. Liz lives in Zuba neighborhood in southern Khartoum, one of the most damaged areas of the capital. She and her daughter survived a real disaster. Their home has been destroyed, and they have nowhere else to go but this place, where they are hardly sheltered from the terrible weather condition. All weather forecasts have warned about an increase of floods.
My house was flooded and it collapsed in the storms. When I saw that the house was flooded with water, I grabbed the kids and we ran outside. After we ran out of the house, it collapsed. We cannot go back home now.
Liz is not the only one suffering from the storms and floods. Thousands of families have lost their homes and more than 23,000 houses are damaged. But the biggest tragedy is that the humanitarian aid has not reached the victims.
We need tents, we need blankets, and we need something to shelter us from the rain. We haven't received any help. Our homes have been flushed away by the flood, and we're vulnerable. We need help. 16 homes were swept away by the flood.
I went to the neighbors asking for help, but their situation was even worse. We don't have drinking water, and we don't have a car to use to fetch drinkable water with.
According to the Sudanese Red Crescent, a preliminary estimate of $50 million worth of relief supplies are needed for the victims of the floods. None have been provided so far, and appeals are still being sent to the international Cross and Crescent organizations.
If the situation continues like this, it will become a catastrophe. We hope that the organizations will intervene to drain the water soon and help protect the environment. We hope that they act quickly before new storms of rain begin, as predicted by the weather forecasts.
Khartoum province announced the closures of schools for a week, saying that the rate of rain was unpredictable. But the victims say that excuses like this are not convincing, since they repeat every rain season and have not made any progress in the sewer and drainage systems. The devastating effects of storms and floods, the lack of humanitarian help, the fear for the environment to deteriorate, and expectations of more heavy storms in the next several days all weigh heavily on the residents. Tahir Al-Mardi, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
The mayor of Rusu city in southern Mauritania said that the city should declare a state of emergency.
He confirmed that the floods that engulfed the city have killed 3 and left more than 3,000 families without shelter. The victims are living in miserable conditions that may be aggravated by more heavy rains.
In the following report, Zainab bint Arabiya shows us some of the scenes from this catastrophe in Mauritania.
Hundreds of families are looking for shelters after they were forced to leave their homes, escaping from the flood that has reached most parts of the city. The local authorities have chosen this place, 7 kilometers north of the city, to be a temporary shelter for the refugees. It is estimated that more than 3,000 families have been displaced by the disaster. They are transporting what's left of their belongings to higher ground.
We fled the city that's been flooded, and we're displaced. We abandoned our possessions, and we abandoned everything. We need help that is fast and real, because this is a real catastrophe.
The floods passed by here and led to the death of 3 people and caused substantial property damage. The flood has covered the entire city, making it very difficult to reach its vital installations. The residents are not able to go to the hospital and mosques or other public services. As a preliminary measure, the authorities took an estimate of the number of affected families in order to provide them with help. However, it appears that the loss is beyond the city's capacity.
In terms of the loss of lives, 3 were killed, including a kid who drowned. In terms of property damage, it is impossible to assess. The city of Rusu should be declared a catastrophe-stricken region.
The biggest challenge is to drain the standstill water in the shortest time to prevent the spreading of diseases that are caused by this disaster.
The first step is to take an urgent measure to transport and provide food, drinkable water, and medical aid. Second, drain this water because it will certainly cause a big problem.
The Mauritanian capital Nouakchott is another city that suffered property damage due to the heavy rains. The citizens of Durnaim neighborhood have sustained damage due to the poor quality of their houses and lack of sanitation facilities. Every rainy season, the citizens of Nouakchott and other cities in Mauritania have new fears over property and human loss that may strike them. Their fears will not disappear until fundamental solutions are found instead of temporary measures. Zainab Mutalabi, Al Jazeera, Nouakchott.
Al Jazeera, Nouakchott.
Some local news. Iran's parliament has resumed debating President Ahmadinejad's proposed cabinet ministers. The three-day debate on the 21-member cabinet began on Sunday with several lawmakers supporting or opposing a number of nominees. Monday's session examined the qualifications of Haydar Moslahi. He's proposed for the Intelligence Ministry, Reza Taghipour for the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, Suzanne Keshavars for the Education Ministry, Mehdi Ghazanfari for the Ministry of Commerce, and current Foreign Minister Manacher Moteki for reinstatement. Opponents and proponents expressed their views about the 5 proposed ministers before the nominees gave speeches in their defense. Ahmadinejad submitted his new cabinet to Parliament last week. Nearly 2/3 of the nominees, including 3 women, are new faces. The debate is to end on Tuesday, and voting will be held on Wednesday.
The Iranian parliament held a second day of its 3-day debate to look into the qualifications of the 21 ministers proposed by President Ahmadinejad. Intense lobbying among members of different factions was very much evident during the session. On the second day, the MPs listened to the plans of a number of nominees for such ministries as Education, Communications and Information Technology, Intelligence and Foreign Affairs. Each had some opponents and proponents except the ministerial nominee for Communications and Information Technology, who seems to secure an absolute vote of confidence because no MP had any opposition to his nomination. The debate over the qualifications of Suzanne Keshavars, the nominee for the post of Education, was one of the hottest ones.
One of the weak points of Mr. Ahmadinejad is that he doesn't use the views of some experts, but his cabinet lineup is good.
Although she is one of the 3 female candidates proposed to join the lineup of the cabinet, lawmakers say the gender issue does not count. Ahmadinejad's choice of Haydar Moslahi for the Intelligence Ministry also drew sharp criticism from some MPs.
We believe the Intelligence Ministry should be at the service of the Islamic establishment of Iran and not a particular government. We should ask Mr. Moslahi how much he is willing to move on this path because he campaigned for Mr. Ahmadinejad's election.
One day after Attorney General Menachem Azouz filed an indictment against former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, criminal law experts are saying that if Olmert is convicted, he will most likely be sent to prison for a long period of time. But defense attorneys are saying that the prosecution has no hard evidence of the gravest charges against Olmert, particularly the acceptance of bribes, money laundering, and theft. IBA's Eli Wogelenter has that story.
Former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has indeed made history, but not the kind he was seeking. For the first time, an Israeli prime minister, in this case a former prime minister, will be a defendant in a criminal proceeding. The charges against Olmert include fraud, breach of trust, and failure to report income, according to a statement released by the Justice Ministry late yesterday. Olmert's former bureau chief, Shula Zaken, was also indicted on similar charges. She is also accused of wiretapping Olmert's conversations with politicians and ministers without his knowledge. The indictment focuses on 3 investigations against Olmert for which he was questioned many times by police: the Talansky affair, Rishon Tours, and the Investment Center, while serving as mayor of Jerusalem or as Minister of Industry and Trade. The charges also refer to false declarations made to the state controller regarding funds he received from a U.S. citizen and an assessment of the value of his pen collection. Olmert called the charges delusional, but said he has faith in the court.
معنا مباشرة من القاهرة راجي الصوراني رئيس المركز الفلسطيني لحقوق
Joining us directly from Cairo is Raji Sohrani, the head of the Palestinian Center for Human Rights. Mr. Raji, we are talking about the latest developments about accusation of human organ trafficking by the Zionist entity. How long will the war remain silent, and which body is responsible for holding the Zionist entity accountable for such actions?
I would like to speak quietly, so please be patient. There isn't a crime that was committed by the Israeli occupation that wasn't monitored and reported by Palestinian human rights organizations. We have always been objective and precise when reporting Israeli violations. We do not politicize our reports. Personally speaking, since the beginning of the 1980s, I've dealt with cases in which parents suspected that their sons' organs were stolen. At the time, the deceased people were from Gaza, including a child. Regrettably, the Office of the Israeli Attorney General did not respond to us, despite repeated requests for an investigation of such cases and requests to perform another autopsy. The Israeli judiciary system, including the Attorney General's office and the court system, have always been used to systematically cover up Israeli crimes.
والتأكيد على ضرورة إعادة التشريح إلا أن هذا الأمر لم يتم ودائما وأبدا عمل.
The truth of the matter is that the person in charge of official Israeli autopsies inside areas occupied by Israel is Professor Yehuda Haas. This man in particular has been used as a tool to cover up crimes committed by the Israelis for the past 5 years. Yehuda Haas, who supervises the autopsies, which are usually the basis for making decisions about crimes, such as the causes of death or whether or not organs were stolen, was tried in Israeli courts for grave violations that were carried out with his and other people's knowledge. We asked for an autopsy for dozens, if not hundreds, of people who died during investigations of ambiguous situations, but the Israeli official autopsy always vindicated the Israeli occupation forces. Of course, what the Swedish newspaper has published is worth talking about. I've read it in detail and double-checked his references, but it lacks the strong evidence that one could use to confront the Israeli occupation with. In any case, the occupation is not moral, and it has carried out crimes systematically and in an organized manner against Palestinian civilians. The occupation does not need another testimony to prove its crimes. It is committing crimes and will continue to commit crimes. This occupation does not only lack a moral foundation, but it also lacks any humanitarian value which occupied peoples are entitled to. The evidence is the day-to-day realities of living in occupied Palestine. Moreover, I would like to confirm that the occupation continues to carry out crimes, and we should not confine ourselves to narrow angles, because by doing so we give the occupation forces the opportunity to vindicate themselves. We must prepare evidence in a clear manner. The issue here is not making accusations, and it's not political. It is a purely professional issue, and therefore we must be professional in all aspects.
There wasn't sufficient evidence in previous cases?
This is exactly what I wanted to say. If we had evidence, then we would have been the first people to point out this issue, not Swedish newspapers. We have serious suspicions, we have complaints, and we have tried to bring this to the attention of all judicial systems. But proving these crimes is another story. We have true suspicions, but that doesn't mean that we need evidence to prove that the occupation is criminal, because what they do to our people every day under occupation is enough proof. If we want to prove criminality on this issue, we have to be objective in all aspects. I've worked on this issue for the past 20 years. As I said, we have submitted complaints, but they do not go anywhere. Yehuda, who is supervising the official Israeli autopsies, is in Abu Kubair, was tried and charged of other issues. We have doubts about the Israeli judicial system. The occupation did not treat us in a moral and humanitarian way. To the contrary, it shows its ugly criminal face with the treatment of our people.
From Gaza to Europe, the tragedy of Amira al-Qayrim, a Palestinian girl who lost her family in the latest Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip, continues. Amira said that she will testify before the International Court of Justice against Israel for war crimes. The memory of the war continues to cast its dark shadow on Amira's life. Our correspondent Mohamed Ouemoussi reports from the city of Lille in northern France.
The Israeli aggression on Gaza has stolen her childhood and innocence. However, it has strengthened her willpower and love for life. She is Amira al-Karim, a Palestinian girl who lost her family except for her mother in the latest Israeli shelling of the Gaza Strip. From one home to another, she has escaped death until she was able to leave the Gaza Strip to Europe, where she underwent medical treatment. Amira's journey took a different route. After announcing that she will testify against Israeli war crimes before the International Court of Justice in The Hague.
We set August 31st as a date for Amira to file a complaint against the occupation for the killing of her family and the destruction of her home.
Amira's testimony at The Hague may satisfy part of her anger, but it will not help her overcome her tragedy. Despite the peace and security felt here in the French city of Lille, the images and reflection of the killing and destruction continue to haunt Amira. In addition, her loneliness during the blessed month of Ramadan has deepened her pain and suffering.
Ramadan is a month of giving. God willing, the month of Ramadan will come upon us with the victory of the Palestinian people, and as we reclaim all of our rights.
Despite the horrific ordeal of Amira, the family of the Palestinian doctor who is hosting her is trying hard to make her feel better, even if to smile for a brief moment or amidst the tears of sadness and grief. 7 months have passed since the crime was committed in Gaza. However, Amira has not awakened from the shock. Her memory is still filled with images of the massacres and heinous crimes that were committed by the savage Israeli war machinery. A machinery that doesn't distinguish between what is human and what is not. Mohamed Ouemoussi, Dubai TV from the city of Lille in northern France.
في إحدى المناطق البدوية في الضفة الغربية اجتمع فريق من المتطوعين.
A group of volunteers gathered in one of the West Bank's Bedouin areas to build a new type of school. The school is designed to have walls made of old cars and recycled materials.
On this small hill where the Bedouin tribes of Jamal live, a school is being built entirely out of old cars and clay. These people greatly need a school to provide education to their kids, since they cannot attend schools in Hebron and Abu Dis. The schools there rejected the Bedouin kids after many of them were run over by cars because they had to walk long distances to school, since the Israeli police forbid taxi cabs from stopping on both sides of the road. Unfortunately, this school building project has not been completed, as the Israeli army sanctioned a provision to terminate it for not having a construction license for this unique school that is built with recycled materials.
So as you see here, the school...
as you can see here, the school is built out of old cars to provide education to kids of up to 10 years old. It is possible that the Israeli court will have it demolished.
The Arabic Bedouin families of Jamal live in the Jim area between Jerusalem and Hebron. Israel bans any kind of construction in this area. The Bedouins are facing an Israeli order of expulsion from their land due to the separation wall that Israel built around the West Bank.
We thought it over, along with other populations in the area, and decided to build this school. It's a project that seeks to provide education to young kids from grade 1 to grade 4 in primary school.
The idea was that we'd all work to build a school. So the idea was to build something out of recycled materials in the shape of a tent so they can get accustomed to it.
The school can hold about 200 kids who are younger than 10 years old. The Palestinian Authority has agreed to provide them 6 teachers. The idea of building a school out of car wheels, tin sheets, and wood was proposed by a group of Canadian volunteers. An Italian charity fund and humanitarian organizations have sponsored the school's construction. Nawal Ayad, Al Arabiya.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs, programs which connect you to the world.